Hi, my name is April Nelson, Manager of Strategic Accounts at More Visibility. And this month's Ask the Expert question is, how do I track the PDFs on my website using Google Analytics? So we're going to talk about two options today, one being virtual page views and two being event tracking. So virtual page views would essentially mean that you could set something up so anytime someone clicks on a link to any of your PDFs, that click equals a page view. And so that would allow you to then take a look at your Google Analytics reports, look at all of the content or the web pages, and you could even give those PDFs their own naming convention. So maybe you add a virtual or a V to the end to make them easy to be pulled out there in Google Analytics quickly. So if you go this route of using virtual page views, there's a little bit of custom coding and configuration in the GA interface that's going to be required. And also a couple of considerations to think about with this route is that if you end up having a lot of activity on those PDF links rather, it could end up skewing your data a bit. For one thing, it could skew that average page views per session. So it could make it look like visitors are viewing a lot more pages on their sessions than they actually are. And it could also show that your bounce rate is lower than it actually is, because when someone clicks on that link to the PDF, it's counted as a second page view. So usually where they might have come in on the page, downloaded the PDF and left, they're counted as, viewing one page and they bounced. In this case, if they click on that link to download the PDF and you're using the virtual page views, then it'll look like, they did not bounce. So those are just a couple of considerations. There's different filters and configurations that you could apply to account for those inflated numbers. But another option that I want to talk about, and for this particular client, is event tracking was really the way to go, because they have so much PDFs and video content on the website, even some blogs or podcasts rather, so different types of files that they want to track. So event tracking is perfect because it's used to track non-page view interactions. So it lets you track them in a way that is really intuitive, because you get to categorize the content. And there's 3 different dimensions that you can take advantage of. So you can have there's an action, a category, and a label. So in this case, to keep it simple, we'll say the action is downloads. And since we're talking about PDFs here, we'll say that the category is PDFs. But maybe you have a lot of different types of PDFs, so you want to get more granular. You might say the action is download, but for your categories, maybe you want to use white paper, brochure, ebook, etc., depending on the different type of PDF that it is. And that's just something else that you'll be able to use in the reports later. So be mindful when you're setting up your event tracking. Take the time to think through how you want to categorize these things. And so the third one is label. It's optional. You don't have to use it, but we strongly suggest to use the label. And in this case, we're pulling in the name of the PDF as our label. So I can see, if you want to clean it up and have it in title case and it's nice and neat, you can do that. Or for the label, sometimes you could just pull it right in from the URL string, the name of the PDF. So if you're tight on the way that you're naming those files, that might work well for you. So action, category, and label are the 3 ways that you can organize your content when you're implementing event tracking. So just like virtual page views, implementing event tracking does require a little custom coding and also some configuration adjustments in the interface. So you'll need to consider that as well. And yeah, so I'd say that, consider using event tracking if you have a lot of PDF content, because it gives you those different dimensions, different ways to organize the content. And then when you're ready to go see what that looks like in Google Analytics, you'll navigate to the behavior reports. So this is going to be underneath your site content. Events has its own section, and then there's a whole suite of reports within events. So you'll be able to slice and dice your action, category, label data. And there's even ways that you can look and see the page from which a PDF was downloaded. So some really cool stuff there in those event reports. So we would recommend using either virtual page views or events to track the PDF content on your website. So if you have questions about tracking on your website or about digital marketing, email us at
info@morevisibility.com.